Well, hey,
Hey,
welcome back.
season 3,
We're
we're back.
Dos Trace, season Trace.
Season trace, and also, third time, best time, third time's the charm, right?
Hopefully, it better be. I think it is. I think we've got it figured out this time. We're going to try different angles. I've got the sound, I think, situated. We'll see. But anyway, it'll be fun.
Lisa is the master.
No.
I worry about her so much, and I know she's like, stop bothering me, you're not my mom. But I'm like, no, we can't have a repeat of last season, like where she was so stressed out because I was so worried about her.
That's been both seasons.
Well, both seasons, okay, but I was trying to put one of them behind us. But
One at a time.
one at a time. But I worry about her because this is supposed to be fun, and I don't want her to be all stressed out where she doesn't want to do this anymore because it's supposed to be fun.
I feel like we say this this is what, the first episode we've had to clarify, but it is fun. It's just a lot of work. It's a lot more work than I thought it would be. If I'd have known day one, season one, how much work it would be, and all the things that I didn't know that I thought I knew that wouldn't be an issue, we probably would have pushed it a little bit, or I would have done some more research. But hey,
Yeah.
we're here and we've got 40 or 50 40 or 50 listeners.
Yeah. Well,
you people are committed.
You're committed.
Are committed.
I will say, though, I think it was good for us to just go ahead and jump in. And I say that as the person who's not struggling with the audio and video every time. First of all, you don't want me editing anything. But secondly, Lisa was like, oh, no, I'll do it. I can do it. I know how to do whatever. And then it's just turned into a much bigger thing. So thank you for all you do, because I know this podcast would not be a thing without you doing all the heavy lifting, because as our friend says, I just show up and talk.
Well, who knew that you couldn't plug 2 microphones into one computer and it wouldn't pick up?
Right.
I mean, I think we went through like 6 or 7 episodes before I even realized that was the problem.
Well, not only that, but last season where I was echoing and we were trying to do it remotely, and it was great in some ways, and then it made things worse in other areas. So we're trying something new again. We may be on the mountainside next season.
Well,
So,
that's why we did it remote last season, because I couldn't get the microphone situated. And then remotely is easier in a lot of ways, but the only downfall is it's like a Zoom call where you kind of mute each other out when you're talking. And so you can't, I don't know how to undo that.
yeah.
So that was always an issue. And then obviously you don't get to meet in person, but
Yeah. And our speech patterns, you're talking, I'm saying, back and forth. And I think that makes the conversation, when the sound messes up and you can't hear that, then,
and that's
sound as
normal. That's
authentic.
normal conversation to kind of jump in when each other's talking. And we have on our Mom Bods t-shirts tonight. I don't know if y'all can see this.
And we're very excited that they still fit. At least one of us is, because the woes of just gaining weight. I was telling Lisa about that Friday.
Yeah.
I've talked about it ad nauseum.
And we will again.
And we will continue. Just if you don't want to hear that, you might want to tune out. But just menopause still. I mean, I'm back in the gym, working out at least 4 days a week, lifting, trying to eat right. Surely not one to skip a chip. I'm gonna say that. But working out, just packing on the pounds. So, here's to 51.
Well, we'll get into that later, because you, like you said, went back to the gym.
Yeah.
Jeffrey and I have hired a dietitian. We'll see how that goes. He has already started. I have not started yet. I go in a couple of weeks. So it'll be interesting to see where both of our journeys are at the end of this 10 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. I better be down a couple of pounds. That's
Yeah.
all I've got to say.
Well, one thing exciting that's happening this week that we have to talk about: football.
Hallelujah. Cannot wait.
It's finally back. I don't know how many of y'all listening care about football, but we are huge football fans. And when Mandy got over here, I had Paul Feinbaum on listening to him and those crazy callers. And I was doing some research when I was listening to I know who it was. Okay. This guy came on again. He will zoom in. He does like a Zoom call and he'll talk to Paul that way versus calling in. Well, I saw him last year do a debate with Ari. He's one of Paul's callers. And so I was Googling it, and apparently there's like a Paul Feinbaum caller bracket. And I was like, this is so my jam. So I started looking it up. But I was just so traumatized because I don't know if you listen to Paul, but Brad, you are the worst debater in the history of forever. I mean, listen. My 10-year-old neighbor could debate better than you with a mouthful of food, okay? You're awful. You are an awful debater. He was supposed to be like the pro SEC guy, and he was talking to Ari, who I think was Big Ten. I think they were having a debate about Big Ten versus SEC and strength of schedule and all that. And, you know, you got to get your thoughts together, Brad. You can't just be like giving digs and Ari's coming out with facts and like good talking points and Brad's just all fumbling around and, you know, just insulting.
Just there.
Blake was watching it with me and we were both like, oh my gosh, why didn't you say this? You know, it was killing us.
That's hilarious.
He did no favors for the SEC.
I really don't listen to Paul Feinbaum, and it's not because I wouldn't, but, you know, it never lines up where I have time to do it, but that would get on my nerves. And I love football, and the minute somebody, and my kids even make fun of me, and they're big Alabama fans too, but they're like, oh yeah, if you know, so-and-so did it, as long as it was Alabama. And I'm like, you're right, because I'll just argue you down, even if I'm wrong, if it puts Alabama in a good light. I'm openly admitting it.
I think you would like listening to that show.
Okay.
It's your jam.
Okay.
But he comes on from like 2 to 6. So there's a huge window. So a lot of people will listen when they're at work or in the car driving or whatever. He comes on TV and he's on the radio. I think he's on the radio, obviously. But, oh, yeah, and it's the same callers all the time. And, you know, you could call in and I'm waiting to hear Mandy from blah, blah, blah. Hey, Paul, this is Mandy.
I could sound like, what was her name? Tammy?
Tammy,
They used to call in and get riled up. Yeah.
Get all over Brad.
That would be me. Yeah.
Anyway, so, yeah. We're excited about football.
Yes, and I watched a little bit of week 0. So we were flipping channels. You know, shameless plug. I had to go to my son's house to watch part of it because I'm so cheap. I turn off YouTube TV except during football season, and I was waiting until this weekend to turn it back on when the real games start. But we watched a little bit of the Iowa State, Kansas State game, and, you know, I really didn't have a dog in the fight, but I was really excited to watch some football. And then we were watching, I don't want to flub the name, and I'm not making fun, but it literally was like the Holy School of Conception or something. It was like a Catholic college, and I was like, put it back on Conception. We were flipping the channels back and forth. They were playing Nichols State.
Yeah.
And anyway, it was just so fun to actually be watching it, you know, live again. So excited about this weekend, ready to watch the Tide roll.
Well, we were talking about the Corso thing.
Yes.
So the little snippets that's been going out with everyone, you know, talking about Lee Corso and how they feel about him. So you had sent me that little snippet, and Blake did too. And I thought, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna see it on game day. And this whole week, I could have sworn that game day still started on week 0.
Yeah.
No. I got up. I set my alarm Saturday for 7 a.m. because I knew I would hit snooze a time or two. It gave me time to get up, make my coffee, go in there, and have it on by 8 o'clock. I was sitting there at 8 o'clock. No, game day did not start.
And I would have bet money.
No, it doesn't.
I would have bet money. And that's after us going out Friday night. Not that we're like burning up the town, but we went to a concert Friday night. Super fun. I go to bed early. We got home at like 11 o'clock or something, which I don't stay up that late. And I was wide awake early Saturday morning, like 5:20, ready to, get my day started.
Well,
football's in the air.
I watched it for a little bit, and then I ended up watching the clip, though, because I thought, well, I'm not going to wait another week to see what they say. But I'm sure they'll have more, of him on there Saturday, so they'll show a few more things. But anyway, bless him. I'm glad, he's retiring. But I know it's, he's an icon, so.
Yeah, that's his life. And I'll say this, he's fortunate enough that this is his second career.
Yeah.
He was a coach and all of that. And I know he means so much to not only game day, but the sport. Anyway, it's surreal because we're in our 50s and I don't remember ever seeing a game day or anything without him.
Yeah.
He's
been around for sure.
Yeah. 30-something years.
He's been around. Right? Yeah. So I think we're going to use this episode like we have in the past, just to kind of catch everyone up since it's been several months since we've gotten together and recorded anything. So that's what we're going to do today. I guess we could start off by what we've done since, when did we wrap up? Like March or April? I don't remember if it was before or after spring break.
Yeah.
But that's usually kind of when we end things in April. So I know I had a busy summer. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think mine was more of an adjustment period. I think I talked about, last season that my youngest son was graduating from college. And so he graduated on a Saturday, started his job on that Monday. We moved him Sunday, Saturday after graduation and on into Sunday in the rain. And
Mother's Day weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, Mother's Day weekend. And so he moved back home and started his job. Everything's going well with that. It's just a huge adjustment for me to have somebody else in the house again. And he brought his puppy, who is so cute, but oh my gosh, she tears up everything. So it's like having a newborn.
Yeah.
And, but everything's going great. He's enjoying his job. Things seem to be going well. Other than that, it's really just been a lot of travel for work.
You have traveled a lot.
I have, and I've got a few more trips this fall coming up, and but other than that, everything's going well. I haven't really traveled for leisure, but I am planning some to get away for a few days in September. And what about you?
Well, you went to some cool places though.
I
when
did.
You did go out of town for work, so you got to see at least a couple of new places, even though it was a quick trip.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, from the time we wrapped up, I was just like, go, 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 which I knew it was going to be like that. Mm-hmm. My youngest graduated high school. We talked about that last season. So we wrapped up his high school graduation, and then my husband and I went out of town right after graduation, within maybe a week, because he bought a new car, and so we had to go to Salt Lake City to pick it up. Stayed out there for a couple of days, kind of just messed around, drove it back. Then I think my son maybe had a senior trip. Gosh, what all did we do? We went on our family vacation for a week. We had to go to my son's freshman orientation, so we were down there where he's going to school for like 3 or 4 days, because it was a 2-day orientation. Mm-hmm. We moved him in. It was slammed for me like all through June. I think from about mid-May through the end of June, which was when we wrapped up his orientation. Over that, I think it was like a 6-week period. I was literally out of town 3 weeks out of the 6 weeks, just with all the days added up. So half the time I was not even at home. And it was all fun. It was great stuff, but it's just busy. You know how it is. Like when you're always out of town and you can't be home to take care of things that need to be taken care of, and you know this is on the horizon. I got to take care of this and do that. And we took my dad to the beach for a couple of days, my brother and my sister and I, just to have a trip with him. So it was a lot.
It is a lot, and the chores don't stop at home just
No.
because you're not home. And so I feel like every time I travel for work, I'm running in the door, unpacking my suitcase and washing clothes, trying to get ready to go again, and, you know, just trying to handle responsibilities. I did, speaking of responsibilities, my older son came over and helped me trim some bushes in the back. And so as a result of us not being able to get some of the larger ones the way that I wanted them, I have ordered a mini chainsaw. And I am so excited to use it. It just came in. Like, this is 51. When you get excited about a new tool that you can use outside.
So that's how thick they had gotten. You need some kind of chainsaw.
Well, we did the bushes pretty much fine. But I've got several trees in my backyard. I've got some Japanese maples, and I've got a huge dogwood. And some of the branches I need to trim, and my little hedge clipper things were just not cutting it.
Well, those rose bushes will get thick too. Even some of those branches, they're hard to cut because they grow out of control. They're so pretty, but they will get out of control.
Yes, I've got to do the ones in the front. But anyway, again, old lady hobbies, but I'm never home. So
Well, we started to talk Friday night about this, and I waited, but speaking of Will, my youngest, I think I started to tell you, after I moved him in, he ended up texting me like a week later, basically telling me that I needed to like put on the brakes with him. So I'll say I was there. We were there from like a Friday to a Monday. Mm-hmm. And we were pretty busy most of the time. Plus, his girlfriend went down with me, so she was there. She stayed with me. So I thought, stay until Monday's fine. He'll still get to visit with his girlfriend. But that next week, I think up until maybe like Sunday or Monday, I was calling him a lot, I will say. But it had to do a lot with the apartment, a lot with like packages getting delivered, you know, making sure he saw the dining stuff and all that. And like one day we were talking about the internet was messing up. And so I was reaching out to the mom who has it in her name. So we were kind of going back and forth. So I had to keep calling him. So like that one sitting, it was like 5 times or whatever. Well, basically, Jeffrey and I are out somewhere and I get a text and it's Will. And I can tell it's a long text. So and I kind of saw where it started off. Something like, I appreciate everything that you've done. So I'm thinking, he's about to send me this sweet text because he has gotten settled in. And it's like, Mom, thank you for buying all this, for setting up. I start reading it. It did start off that way, but he said basically that he appreciates everything that I've done and that everything that I've gotten him. But I have called him 17 times. He said 17 times in the past week. And that the part of going to college was learning to be independent. And he feels like I'm not letting him do that. And that now I always talk about how I don't like to micromanage people, but now I am still micromanaging. So if I could just basically let him figure it out, he said, I would really appreciate if you would respect that. So I read it and I was like,
he ran it through Chat GPT. Oh, he not hurt my mom's feelings.
It was very and I'm trying to picture the tone. So I don't think it was anything ugly, but I do think probably maybe like whatever tipped him over the edge, whether it was the last phone call or whatever, he was just like, I've got to send her, a text. So, but that's something that he says anyway. Like that's his wording is, if you can respect that, I would really appreciate it. That whole thing.
Yes.
So I stopped calling, as much. And I gave him some space. And like 2 days later, he was texting me and it was like, oh, this coffee maker works great. And, about school. So, we'll text on and off, but it's not 17 times a week. Like he said, I know he went to his call log and looked. That was not just a random number.
Oh, no.
He brought up.
Well, I will say this. Your heart swells with pride at his ability to communicate and set boundaries.
Yeah.
And be respectful in the process. However, as a mom, that little sting of like getting your hand slapped, like I'm perfectly capable of doing this,
I responded, I said, okay, with a thumbs up. That's all I said. I didn't go into it. I didn't try to explain myself.
Right.
I just said,
Right.
okay. And so I read it to Jeffrey and he was like, so how are you feeling about that text? I said, I'm fine with it for the most part because he does have a leg to stand on. But
Sure.
to be fair, I felt like I was taking care of some stuff, wrapping
Right.
things up and, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it stinks when their raising comes back to bite you in
Yeah.
the butt. When you've, talked to them about mature communication, setting boundaries,
Yeah.
all these things, and then they use it on you. How rude.
well, then I went out to eat with Blake like a few days later and just out of the blue, he said, have you talked to Will? And I said, yeah, I got a text from him. I said, why have you talked to him? Because I thought that's why Blake was
Right.
asking me. He's like, no. So I told him about the text. Every time I've given it to someone to look at, they're like, They don't say, wow, or oh my gosh. They're like, So it makes me question myself, like, he has a leg to stand on by saying that. to
Every
you.
time they're like, there.
Like, okay, well, that was like you said, that was well written, or he chose his words wisely.
Yeah.
So, he did.
Well,
But it is what it is.
you gotta love it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So funny.
So, do you have any dating updates for us?
Oh my God. No, so glad you asked. Nope, dry as a bone. Phone's dry. And honestly, it should be because I'm not on the apps. I will say someone set me up with someone. We had a great first date, lots of good conversation, lots in common. Thought, hey, maybe potential.
Was that right after we wrapped up?
Yes.
Because I don't remember us talking about it during the season, but I
Yeah.
remember us talking about it over dinner.
Yes.
Okay.
And honestly, I'm maybe different, but I don't feel like you know enough about a person after the first date, unless it's just an immediate hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think if you've got a lot of good conversation and stuff like that, I don't think you know every time whether it's got potential or not.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you have to go home and think about it. Sometimes you have to still talk to that person. But, it doesn't mean they're a bad person, but sometimes it's like an immediate no. You're just like, no, we really don't have anything in common, or I'm just not feeling it. But anyway, really great conversation. I felt like parts were maybe crossing my boundaries a little bit. And I set those boundaries and I don't regret it. But it's just a little strange to me that so many men are kind of in their I want to be taken care of era. That really bothers me. Mm-hmm. And it's not something I'm looking to do again. Not trying to be a nurse or a purse.
Yeah.
Let's just put that down. So there's that. But
So no one sent him.
no, I'm not on, I deleted all the
Yeah.
the app that I was on. Haven't been interested in anybody. I mean, and honestly, it's going to have to be a repairman because they're going to have to come to my house and knock on the door. There's
Everybody needs a good handyman.
yes.
Listen,
yes.
I was getting cracked up though, because speaking of men and your dating life. So when we were at the Molly Ringwald's Friday night, Mandy and I got there fairly early, and we found just a one of the taller tables. I don't know what they're called.
Yeah.
Over off to the side. So we were going to stand there all night with our drinks, and phones and whatever else. Anyway, so on into the night, we're standing there, and this guy kind of comes up in front of us, and he's holding up his drink like you're kind of cheering somebody, like you want to cheers. And so initially, I know he was like looking at me, but he was standing more in front of me than you. And I don't know if he kept looking like back and forth, like who's going to like recognize I'm here. Because I kept like looking this way, and then I'd look back. And so I didn't want to be rude. And I felt like he was just being friendly, being nice. But
he was trying to pick Lisa up.
No. So I kept saying, Lisa, just like give him a cheers, or whatever. Well, he must have turned to you and started talking. I couldn't hear what he said, but immediately, I'm that friend, and you are too. Like, if something's going to go down, don't make eye contact, don't acknowledge it, or we will laugh until we can't laugh anymore.
Yes.
Okay, so I see him mosey on around the table to Mandy and start talking, and I already know what you're thinking about it. I know. And y'all, I just like, I'm turning my head like this, but I have got the biggest grin on my face. Like, if anybody was walking by, Mandy could not see my face.
Thank God, but I knew what she was doing. All I saw was the back of her head, the whole back. She was like this.
If anybody would have walked by, they would have thought, what are you grinning at or laughing at? But I was trying to not laugh because I didn't want my shoulders to start shaking and it be obvious. But anyway, so I don't know if you want to elaborate on what he told you. I don't remember, but I could not look at you.
Honestly, he was trying his hardest to be like super friendly. He said, I like your shirt. And I was like, thanks. And I was thinking in my head, number one, he has never heard of this band ever. So it was the Misfits.
Yeah.
We went to an 80s concert. And so Lisa had on like a Bon Jovi shirt and I had on a Misfits. Anyway, we were just trying to wear like band t-shirts. Anyway, a lot of people dress up like the 80s that go to see them. But anyway, he said something about my shirt, and I said thanks, and I'm like, well, get out of here, and just kind of like gritting my teeth. And he continues, and he says, I saw Pantera here, whatever, and he's just like having this whole full-blown conversation, and I'm like, oh, okay, nice. Okay. And all I see is the back of Lisa's head, and I know she's laughing, so it's making me want to laugh. And finally I was like, well, you have a good night. Like, get on. And anyway, we laughed about it. But I mean, I said, I'm a magnet. If there is a weirdo in this place, he will find me.
We were laughing at everybody. We were laughing at the security people. I mean, everybody was cracking us up.
Yeah, at least the guys that were security at the door were really funny. And like one of them said, I need to check your purse. Do you have any throwing stars?
Yes.
Like they were being really funny. But then the guys that were like cruising the floor, I mean, listen, I could have taken them down easily. It was just like, who is hiring these people? I do not feel safe with them in here.
Well, and I walked in with a little small purse that we were joking about, or he was asking like if there were nunchucks in there and all that. But yeah, it was such a fun night, but
it was fun.
It's always just entertaining. People watching and, just the types of people that will come up and engage with you. And afterwards, we were talking about it on the way to the car. And I told Mandy, because we saw another guy there too.
Yes.
He had a certain hair. Like, this was his real hair. It was old school, like, I don't know, spiky on top and long in the back. I mean, it was
and it was fully gray.
Oh,
so, I mean, he's like minimum our age.
He was totally like a rocker dude.
Yeah,
like
in the 80s.
Harley, probably even the 70s.
Yeah.
That was just his whole jam. And he was there by himself, which is fine. I appreciated the fact that, he wanted to see this band and he went. But my point saying that was when we left, we saw him walking down the street going to his car. So it made me think of the other guy I lost my train of thought now. I don't remember what I said. Anyway, I think I was telling you in the car, well, he was just trying to be sweet and friendly and you're just like, yeah, okay. And you're like talking about how when he said, yeah, I've seen whatever the name of the band was here. And you were thinking, no, you haven't. No, you haven't, but okay.
Yeah, no, you did. But another thing, and this tells you how Lisa and I can just look at each other and start laughing, is there was, and I'm trying not to give anything away just because it's an outside company. So I don't want to say anything. But anyway, I had a meeting at work on Friday.
Oh,
and
yes.
We had met with this outside company we're kind of commingling on some things. Anyway, I say all that to say I had met with him on Friday, and I would have bet my paycheck that this guy that walked up was the guy from that other company that I talked to on Friday in person in a meeting.
Yes.
He was his doppelganger. And so I'm not going to say his real name or anything, but let's just call him Bob. And this for real, I'm not saying Rod like, that was his actual name, but we'll call this guy Bob. And I said, Lisa, oh my God, I think I know that guy. I said, that guy, I think his name is Bob. I said, we just had a meeting today and he's with another company. I said, isn't that weird that he's here? And,
so we can't say what we were yelling?
Well, I'm gonna halfway. But anyway,
Okay.
So I said, I think that's Bob. And so Lisa goes, and then I went, Bob, like really loud. And he didn't look over. And I went, Bob! And I'm yelling it, and he's not looking over. And then Lisa starts doing it. She starts yelling, Bob! Every time the sound went down a little bit in the band or in between
or if he walked by.
or we were yelling his name all night long. And he would not look over at us. And I'm like, he's deaf. And I'm convinced it's him. And then she goes, oh my God, I know who that is and why he looked familiar. And it's from a completely different circumstance. Nothing to do with what I thought it was him. I even looked him up on LinkedIn while we're in the concert.
Yes, you did.
And I'm showing it to Lisa. I'm like, does that not look like him? But it was so funny. We kept yelling it all night long.
I forgot that. See, I was thinking we would get to talk about the actual name that we yelled out because it's so funny just being able to yell out that name. But I forgot that's his real name, the guy that you thought.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was. Even the lady next to us kept looking over at us.
Yeah,
so
like,
she would
why
hear
are
us.
you yelling?
But I recognized who he was because his wife ended up walking by, and I was thinking, I recognize that lady. I don't know from where, and it finally hit me that she's in the same town that I live in and that you used to live in. And then I finally put two and two together on who her husband was.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said.
Not Bob.
No, name not even close.
Not even close. But that just tells you we get the giggles for no reason.
But it was a fun night. So we went and saw them last year and had a good time. So it was just at a different venue this year, but it was just fun.
Yeah. Well, and to switch gears a little bit, one thing I wanted to talk about tonight, and definitely don't want to bring the mood down, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention another friend of ours. And I will say her name. Her name is Kristen. Mm-hmm. And a lot of you listening to this podcast know her and know about her death. But I did want to honor her tonight. I've mentioned her, not her name, but I've mentioned in the past that I have a friend that was so organized and so well put together and had everything under control. And unfortunately, she was diagnosed right around the time we were wrapping up around the spring break, end of March, with glioblastoma, which, if you don't know, is a very aggressive form of brain cancer. And she fought hard. She had it removed. There was a lot going on, but she rang the bell, signifying the end of radiation and chemo, and within 2 weeks she was gone. And so she passed away on July 22nd, and I I miss her, and I miss knowing that I can text her and those kind of things. And I am sad, but I'm kind of not sad in the same sense. She was a good friend, and after I saw the shape that she was in, it just would be selfish of me to wish that she was still enduring that.
Right.
And so she fought hard, and I just wanted to honor her tonight to talk about her.
Yeah, she would love that. She would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she went to school with us. We were all in the same grade together, and Mandy was a lot closer to her than I was. We were friends in middle school. We all kind of hung out in middle school, and then on through high school, she and Mandy remained pretty close as far as I always knew. She and I didn't. We just went separate paths. I don't even remember having classes together or anything like that. So we just didn't really keep in touch after high school. I think y'all did. And then obviously, you know, with Facebook, you reconnect with so many people. And I think she was probably one of my first Facebook friends. I still even remember being on Facebook and her commenting on my page or something, because it was brand new. This was like 2009,
Right.
when I joined, and her saying, I don't know, maybe something like, good to see you on here or whatever. She was like, update us on your life, show us pictures of your family. You know, she was just very engaging. And she even started a Facebook page on like a memoriam type page for all of the alumni that went to the same high school as us. So that was just her personality. She was always engaging with others from my perspective, very thoughtful.
Yes.
Would always reach out. I told Mandy that after she passed away, I went back on Facebook just to read through our Facebook messages. And there was so much on there that I had forgotten about. You know, things that we had said, and well, I won't share that one thing, but just things that we had said, and I had forgotten that she had, you know, taken pictures at an event for me. So she was, you know, she was a really good, sweet, thoughtful person.
She
very
was.
fun, and but I know it was harder on you because you were so close to her.
Yeah. Selfless.
Yeah.
She's very thoughtful. And I'll tell you, I'll close with this. But to tell you, for anyone who didn't know her, or who didn't know her to the depth that I did, the type of human being that she was, after she was diagnosed with a brain tumor, I drove out to her house to see her, and we sat out by her pool, dipped our feet in, we talked for a while. I prayed for her, never thinking that this could be it. I mean, you always think it in the back of your head, but you always think she's going to pull through.
Sure.
Before I left, we went inside, and she was giving me a tour because they had not lived in that house very long, or I had not been there. And I go to her guest bathroom, and on the door, there was a sign. And it's something like maybe you would see in a restaurant or something. And it had like two stick people, like they had to pee kind of thing. And I laughed, and I thought it was the cutest thing. And so I went ahead and, you know, used that restroom. And I said, oh, I love your little sign. Where did you get it? You know, and she said she had ordered it. And anyway, that was about it. And I left. And a few days go by, and I get a package in the mail. And it is a little sign identical to hers. Don't think we really understood that it was a glioblastoma and how aggressive it was. But for her to be dealing with that, semi-dragging her leg, afraid, not knowing what the outcome is going to be when someone tells you have a huge brain tumor.
Right.
We're sitting outside, you know, all these things. And for her to, when I left, she went and found, I guess, that order and placed an order and sent it to me.
Right.
That's the kind of person that she was. And after, she always listened to our podcast, and she had sent me a note about how proud she was of me, and she was just a good soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very fortunate to have friends like that in your life. So
For sure. So I'm thankful for her friendship, and I'm thankful for your friendship. And I think it's just a good reminder. She was a huge Alabama fan.
Yeah,
I
she
think about
was.
her starting the football season. But,
Yeah.
We've talked about this before, and I'll continue to talk about it. If there's something that you need to say to somebody, or there's something that you need to do to feel at peace, or to get something off your chest, or, to let somebody know how impactful they were in your life, it's the time to tell them, and not at their funeral,
That's right. And, I thought about that a lot when all of this came up with her, and when we were at her funeral, and we saw, she had a lot of people at her funeral. And we saw a few people from high school, and, it's always nice to be able to see people like that. And unfortunately, or fortunately, these events will bring people back together, or reconnect in some way. And through that, you either lose that connection again once everyone disperses and goes on with their life, or that fuels something to keep in touch with another person, or it fuels something to, to just remind you that we don't know what tomorrow holds. We talked about this a lot last season. I'm sure we will continue to do that again this season. We're just in that stage of life where it's starting.
Yeah.
It's starting to happen.
Yeah. And accidents happen, and, you never know, because when your time comes, there's no stopping the time.
That's right.
So it's just important to try to live every day. And that's a big reminder for me too. I tend to get lost in work and travel and doing my own thing, and I just kind of put my head down and go, and I don't really sometimes stop and smell the roses, and I just have got to make a more concerted effort to do so.
Same. I mean, I can talk all I want, and I think I always have good intentions behind it. But you have seasons of life, or periods in your life where you're super busy, and then it's kind of lax for a bit. I mean, for you, it's a broader busy because you're working and traveling so much. For me, I feel like it's literally seasonal. Like a couple of months during the year, I'm super busy, and then it relaxes a bit, and then I'm super busy again. And so you just got to find a way to, or I've got to find a way to balance it out. And, I've got to do some reshifting of priorities. And that's just how it's got to be.
Yeah.
And I'm included in some of that.
Yeah.
Like my health and taking care of myself. Again, we've talked about this so much too. I've got to make it a priority. And so if, hiring a dietitian because I need more accountability is what it takes right now, then that's just what it takes.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think anything that you can do for self-improvement, and whatever that is what that looks like for you.
Yeah.
What improves me, or what I would do, is completely different than what someone else would do. And I feel better getting back in the gym on a regular schedule, and I just know what works for me. And, in this season of life, I'm able to do it. And I think as long as we are facing our own mortality and realize that, hey, we've got to try to take care of ourselves now.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not enough, as the case with Kristen.
Yeah.
She didn't get a brain tumor because she wasn't taking care of herself.
Right.
And we just never know what kind of time we have left.
Yeah.
So.
Well, all right. I guess we are going to wrap up tonight, and looking forward to getting back together next week.
Yeah. It's great as always.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
Here's to season 3.
Season 3.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.